India, long ago, a land of vibrant colors, exotic spices, and ancient wisdom. In a grand palace lived King Viraj. He had it all: wealth, power, a loving family. Yet King Viraj felt empty. A deep sadness lingered in his heart.
The king yearned for true happiness. He had everything, but something was missing.
One day the king heard tales of a wise sage. This sage was said to possess profound knowledge and insight, living a life of simplicity and peace high in the mountains. This sage lived a simple life in the mountains. His hermitage was modest, surrounded by nature's tranquility, where he spent his days in meditation and contemplation. People whispered that he held the secret to true happiness. They believed that anyone who sought his wisdom would find answers to life's deepest questions. King Viraj, filled with hope, decided to seek the sage's wisdom. He was determined to uncover the truths that could bring peace and prosperity to his kingdom. He left his palace and ventured into the mountains. The journey was not just a physical one, but also a spiritual quest for enlightenment. His journey was long and tiring. The rugged paths and harsh weather tested his resolve, but he pressed on, driven by the hope of finding the sage. But the king was determined to find the sage. Each step he took was filled with purpose, as he believed that the sage's wisdom could change his life and his kingdom forever.
The king's heart was heavy with his unspoken longing. He yearned for answers, for a deeper understanding of life, and for the wisdom that only the sage could provide.
After weeks of travel, the king found the sage by a tranquil river. The sage was sitting peacefully, eyes closed. He seemed to radiate a quiet joy. The king approached him with humility. He told the sage about his emptiness, his search for happiness. The sage listened patiently.
When the king finished, the sage smiled gently.
The sage listened patiently.
"Live like the villagers," the sage instructed, gesturing towards the valley below. The valley was a place of harmony and simplicity, where life moved at a gentle pace and the people found contentment in their daily routines.
Work with your hands. Help those in need. Seek joy in simplicity. The villagers believed that true happiness came from the heart, from the connections they made with each other, and from the satisfaction of a job well done.
The king was skeptical, but followed the sage's advice. He wondered if such a simple life could truly bring the peace and fulfillment he sought. He lived among the villagers, working the land, sharing their meals. The king began to see the beauty in their way of life, the joy in their faces as they worked together. He helped build their homes, comforted their sorrows. The king's heart softened as he became part of their community, feeling their joys and their pains.
Your hands, your heart, they are part of our village now. The villagers welcomed him with open arms, seeing him not as a king, but as one of their own.
See, even the smallest tasks bring great joy. The king learned that every task, no matter how small, had its own significance and brought a sense of accomplishment.
The king found peace in their simple way of life. He realized that true happiness was not found in wealth or power, but in the simple, everyday moments shared with others. Weeks later, King Viraj returned to the sage. His heart was full of newfound joy. The journey back to the sage had been long, but every step was filled with anticipation. The king had much to share and even more to learn. As he approached the sage's humble abode, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He understood. True happiness wasn't in palaces or riches. The grand halls and opulent rooms of his palace now seemed empty and hollow. The king realized that the material wealth he once cherished was nothing compared to the simple joys of life. It was in appreciating the simple gifts of life, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children, the satisfaction of honest work. These were the moments that brought true contentment. The king saw the beauty in everyday scenes that he had previously overlooked.
I have learned, wise sage, happiness is found in the simplest of things. The sage nodded, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. You have taken the first step towards true enlightenment, King Viraj, the sage replied. Remember, the heart that finds joy in simplicity is the heart that is truly rich.
King Viraj returned to his kingdom, a changed man. He carried the sage's wisdom in his heart. His subjects noticed the change in their king. He was more approachable, more compassionate, and more present in their lives. The kingdom flourished under his newfound wisdom. Inner peace, he learned, comes not from having more, but from appreciating what we already have. The king spent more time in nature, meditating and reflecting on the lessons he had learned. He found joy in the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, and the gentle flow of rivers.
You have discovered the true treasure, King Viraj. Cherish it always. The sage's words echoed in the king's mind. He knew that the true treasure was not something that could be held or measured, but something that was felt deep within the heart.
And so the king lived with a heart full of gratitude, forever changed by the simplicity he once overlooked. His reign became known as a golden era of peace and prosperity, where the true treasure was the happiness and well-being of his people. The king's legacy was not one of wealth, but of wisdom and contentment.